Ladies and gentlemen, today I want to talk about something that we all struggle with at times, the need to take action. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of planning, strategizing, and dreaming. But there comes a point where all the thinking, all the wishing, and all the hoping don't get us anywhere. It's action that makes the difference. You see, success doesn't come from just knowing what to do, it comes from doing it. But here's the catch: the action you take often has to be forced. It won't always feel comfortable. You won't always feel ready. But that's the key. Forcing yourself to take action, even when you don't feel like it, is what separates the dreamers from the doers. Think about it. We all have the same 24 hours in a day, yet some people seem to accomplish so much more than others. Why? Because they've mastered the art of forcing themselves into action when procrastination or fear wants to hold them back. The moment you push yourself past hesitation is the moment you step into the world of extraordinary achievement. So how do you build that discipline? How do you force yourself to act when you'd rather do anything else? Well, there are a few principles to keep in mind. Let me share something simple but powerful. Action is the key to progress. It's as simple as that. It doesn't matter how many books you've read or how many seminars you've attended. Without action, all of that knowledge is just potential energy. It's not going to do anything for you. I'm sure you've heard the saying, knowledge is power, but the truth is, applied knowledge is what creates real power. You can know everything there is to know about success, wealth, health, or relationships, but unless you take action, that knowledge remains nothing more than an idea in your head. You can dream about the life you want, but it won't change your reality unless you get up and do something about it. See, action is what bridges the gap between where you are and where you want to be. If you're standing still, nothing happens. But when you take action, you begin to build momentum. Each small step, no matter how insignificant it seems, compounds over time. The truth is, the person who takes consistent action is always going to get further than the one who never takes action at all, even if the one who never acts knows more or is smarter. Action is what moves you from point A to point B. Let me give you an example. If you wanted to build a house, you wouldn't just sit around and talk about it. You wouldn't just think about how great it would be. No, you would start with one brick, and then another, and then another. Over time, that pile of bricks turns into a foundation, and that foundation turns into a structure, and that structure becomes a home. But none of that happens until you put that first brick down. That's the power of action. You see, many people fail not because they lack ability, but because they fail to act. They're waiting for the right moment, for the perfect conditions, or for someone to push them. But the truth is, the right moment rarely arrives. There will always be obstacles, distractions, and setbacks. But it's in those moments that the power of action becomes even more critical. When things get tough, it's your ability to act that keeps you moving forward. But let's be clear about something. Action doesn't always mean you have to make huge moves or take giant leaps. Action can be as simple as making one phone call, taking one step, or starting one project. It's those little steps done consistently that lead to big changes. You don't need to have everything figured out. You just need to take the next step. Some people get caught in the trap of overthinking, trying to plan every detail before they act. But here's the reality: you will never have all the answers before you start. Life doesn't wait for perfection. Perfection is an illusion. The only way to learn is by doing. And even if you make mistakes along the way, and you will make mistakes, the act of taking action is what leads to growth and learning. It's in the doing that you discover what works and what doesn't. Let's talk about goals for a minute. Having a clear goal is essential, but the goal is useless unless you take action toward it. You can set a goal to lose weight, build a business, or learn a new skill, but if you don't take action toward that goal every single day, it's just a wish. And wishes don't bring results. Action brings results. The key to success is to get into motion. Stop waiting for the perfect time or for your fear to go away. Fear will always be there. The question is, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to let fear hold you back, or are you going to push through it and take action anyway? And remember, you don't need to wait for motivation to act. It's easy to say, I'll do it when I feel motivated, but motivation comes after you start. The first step is always the hardest, but it gets easier as you go along. Once you start taking action, you'll feel more motivated, more confident, and more capable. You'll see that the progress you're making is all the motivation you need to keep going. In the end, it's not about waiting for the right opportunity. It's about creating the opportunity through the actions you take today. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just need to act. That's how progress is made. That's how success is built. Step by step, action by action, until you look up one day and realize you've made incredible progress. Let me ask you a question. How often have you found yourself waiting for motivation before you take action? You think, I'll get started when I feel motivated, or I just need to get inspired and then I'll do it. Sound familiar? Well, here's the truth. Motivation doesn't come first. Motivation follows action. Now, I know that sounds counterintuitive. In our culture, we're often led to believe that motivation is what sparks success. We hear phrases like get motivated and you can do anything, but the reality is motivation is a byproduct of action. It's something that grows as a result of what you do, not something that magically appears out of nowhere. And once you understand this truth, everything changes. Let me put it another way. You don't have to feel motivated to take action. In fact, it's usually the opposite. You take action first, and the motivation to continue will follow. Think of motivation like a muscle. It's not something you wait for. It's something you build through repeated action. Here's why: when you take the first step, even when you don't feel like it, something amazing happens. Your brain starts to realize that action leads to results. And the more you see those results, the more motivated you become to continue. Think about when you've worked on something that required persistence, maybe a new project, a fitness goal, or a challenging task. At first, it might have felt like a struggle. You weren't sure if you were feeling it. But once you took that first step, you saw something change. Progress, no matter how small, was made. And that progress, that momentum, fuels motivation. Here's the key point. It's the act of starting that triggers motivation. The first few minutes of doing something are always the hardest. It's easy to talk yourself out of it, to say, I'll do it later, or I don't have the energy right now. But once you actually start, whether it's writing that first sentence, making that phone call, or taking that first step toward your goal, you start to build momentum. And momentum feels good. It feels like forward motion. And that feeling of progress is what gives you the energy to keep going. Think about it in terms of physical exercise. How many times have you struggled to find the motivation to go to the gym? You think, I'll feel better after I go, but when you wake up, your bed feels way too comfortable. You don't feel like moving. But once you put on your gym clothes, get to the gym, and start your warm-up, something changes. Before long, you're in the middle of your workout, and you feel great. You've got energy, you've got momentum, and motivation has kicked in. It wasn't there at first, but action created it. This principle applies to everything in life, whether you're building a business, improving your health, or learning a new skill. The key to getting started is realizing that you don't need to wait for the perfect moment or the perfect motivation. You just need to take action, even if it's small. Action creates momentum, and momentum creates motivation. Now, I'm not saying motivation is irrelevant. Motivation is powerful. It's what drives you to aim higher, to push past your limits, and to keep going when things get tough. But if you rely on motivation to get you started, you'll always find yourself stuck in a cycle of procrastination. Motivation is like the spark, but action is the fuel that keeps the fire going. Let's look at another example. Think about writing a book. Most people have an idea for a book or a project, but they never get started because they don't feel inspired to write. They think, when I'm motivated, I'll start writing. But the truth is, the writing comes first. You don't need to wait for inspiration. You create inspiration by writing. The more you write, the more your ideas flow. The more you write, the more motivated you'll feel to continue. The first paragraph is always the hardest, but once you start, the next paragraph comes easier, and the next, and before you know it, you're writing more than you ever thought possible. If you wait for motivation to come to you, you'll be waiting a long time. Life doesn't work that way. You have to take action first. Start moving, and the motivation will follow. Motivation doesn't get you started, it keeps you going. Let's talk about the flip side. What happens if you don't take action? If you spend your time waiting for motivation or for the perfect moment, nothing will happen. You'll stay in the same place, stuck in the cycle of wanting but not doing. And that feeling of inertia can be even worse than taking imperfect action. When you're not moving, when you're not doing anything, your confidence diminishes and your belief in your ability to succeed fades. That's when motivation truly disappears. But when you take the first step, you build a sense of accomplishment, a sense of momentum, and suddenly motivation doesn't seem so hard to find. So how do we apply this idea in our lives? Simple start. Whatever it is you've been putting off, take one small action today. Don't worry about perfection. Don't worry about whether you feel motivated. Just do something. If you've been putting off that important phone call, make it now. If you've been thinking about exercising, do 10 push-ups right now. If you've been wanting to write a book, write a single page. Just begin. And when you do, you'll see that the motivation to keep going will follow. Let's make this clear. Action is the source of motivation, not the other way around. When you take action, motivation will show up. It will meet you halfway. It will propel you forward and help you push through obstacles. But only if you're willing to start, if you're willing to take that first step, no matter how small it may seem. Let me tell you something about growth that doesn't happen in the easy, comfortable moments. Growth is found in discomfort. It's found in the moments when you step outside your comfort zone, when you push yourself past the familiar and into the unknown. That's where the magic happens. You see, if you're comfortable, you're probably not growing. Growth requires change, and change isn't comfortable. Growth demands that you stretch, that you challenge yourself, that you risk failure. Comfort is the enemy of progress. If you're always doing what's easy, if you're always sticking to what feels safe, then you're not expanding. You're not becoming the person you're capable of being. Think about it like this. A seed doesn't grow by staying in the soil. A seed grows because it breaks through the soil. It pushes against the earth, against the darkness, against the resistance. The very act of breaking through is what allows it to reach the surface and grow into something greater. But that breakthrough requires effort. It requires discomfort. The seed doesn't get to choose how it grows. It just knows that it has to break through to the other side. Now, you and I aren't seeds, but the process is the same. Growth happens when you push yourself beyond where you've been before. It happens when you do the things that scare you, when you face the challenges that make you uncomfortable. And let me be clear, I'm not saying that discomfort is easy. It's not. But it is necessary. It's the price you pay for progress. Let me give you an example. Imagine you're at the gym trying to get stronger. The first few reps are easy, but as you keep going, it gets harder. Your muscles burn, your body aches, and your mind tells you, that's enough, I can't go any further. That's discomfort. But if you stop right there, you won't get stronger. The growth, the strength, is in the last few reps, the ones that test your limits. If you push through the discomfort, that's where you get stronger. That's where growth happens. But if you quit at the first sign of pain, you stay the same. And it's the same in every area of life. If you want to grow in your career, you have to take on challenges that make you uncomfortable. If you want to grow in your relationships, you have to have difficult conversations. If you want to grow as a person, you have to face your fears, tackle your weaknesses, and do the hard work that others aren't willing to do. Discomfort is the key to development. It's in those moments when you're stretched beyond your limits that you begin to discover your true potential. Think about a time when you were forced to do something uncomfortable. Maybe it was starting a new job, moving to a new city, or having a conversation you didn't want to have. How did you feel before you did it? Probably anxious, uncertain, maybe even scared. But once you did it, once you pushed through that discomfort, didn't you feel like you had grown? Didn't you feel more capable, more confident, more alive? Growth is rarely a straight line. It's not about simply moving from one place to another without struggle. Growth is messy, unpredictable, and often painful. And that's why so many people avoid it. It's easier to stay where we are, to keep things familiar, to avoid the discomfort of change. But here's the truth. If you're not experiencing discomfort, you're not growing. Now, I'm not saying you should go looking for discomfort for its own sake. That's not the point. What I am saying is that when you face discomfort, when you encounter challenges, instead of running from them, lean into them. Embrace them. Don't let fear dictate your actions. Understand that the discomfort you're feeling is a sign that you're on the right track. It's your body, your mind, your spirit telling you you're about to grow. You're about to become something more than you were before. Think about this. The most successful people in life didn't get there by avoiding discomfort. They got there because they learned to thrive in discomfort. They put themselves in situations where they had to adapt, where they had to rise above their doubts and fears, where they had to work harder than they ever thought they could. And through that process, they grew. They became stronger, more resilient, more capable of handling whatever life threw at them. It's the same for you and me. If you want to achieve greatness, if you want to live a life that's extraordinary, you have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. You have to seek out the challenges, the difficulties, the moments that push you, because that's where your growth is waiting. Here's the thing, comfort is a great place to visit, but it's a terrible place to live. If you live in comfort, you stagnate. You don't grow. Life doesn't get better by playing it safe. It gets better when you face discomfort head on, when you rise to the occasion, when you push yourself to become the person you were meant to be. So let me ask you, what discomfort are you avoiding right now? What's that thing that you know you need to do, but you're putting off because it feels hard or scary or uncertain? That's where your growth is. Go toward it, embrace it, push yourself through it. On the other side of that discomfort is the person you're meant to become. Let me ask you a question. How many times have you let your feelings dictate your actions? How many times have you woken up and said, I just don't feel like it today, and then allowed that feeling to stop you from doing what you knew you needed to do? Let's be honest, we've all been there. But here's the truth that can change everything for you. You can't let your feelings control your life. If you do, you'll never get the results you want. Success isn't built on feelings, it's built on results. And if you only take action when you feel like it, you'll never accomplish anything significant. Because let's face it, you're not always going to feel motivated, inspired, or excited to do the hard work. Feelings are temporary. Results are permanent. You see, if you base your actions on how you feel, you'll be like a ship without a rudder. The winds of emotion will blow you this way and that way. One day you'll feel like conquering the world, and the next day you'll want to pull the covers over your head and give up. If you're only doing things when it feels easy, when it feels good, then you're not doing the work that really moves you forward. You're not building the habits that will get you the results you're after. Think about it. If you wait until you feel like it, you'll never get up early to exercise. You won't work on that project when you're tired, and you certainly won't do the hard things that matter most. Why? Because feelings are unreliable. You can't rely on them to create the life you want. But here's the flip side. When you focus on results, your feelings begin to follow. It's not the other way around. When you focus on the outcome, the bigger picture, the goals that matter, you'll find that your feelings start to catch up. You start to feel more motivated, more inspired, and more confident in the process because you're seeing the progress, the momentum, the results. I'll give you an example. Think about a goal you set for yourself. Maybe it's losing weight, building a business, or learning a new skill. If you focus on how you feel every day, you'll be all over the place. Some days you'll feel excited to work out or work on your project, and other days you'll just want to quit. But if you focus on the results, the vision of what you want to achieve, your feelings will become secondary. You won't let the temporary discomfort, the frustration, or the lack of motivation stop you. You'll push through it because you're focused on the outcome. Results come from consistent action, not from waiting for the right feelings to show up. It's easy to take action when everything is going well and when you feel on top of the world. But real success comes when you keep moving forward, even when you don't feel like it. The difference between those who achieve great things and those who don't is what they do when they don't feel like doing anything. Take a look at the world's most successful people. They didn't wait for the perfect mood to take action. They just showed up day after day. They focused on the result they wanted, not on the feelings they were having in the moment. They made it a habit to push through resistance, to do what needed to be done, regardless of how they felt. For example, let's say you want to start a business. The first few months, maybe even years, are going to be tough. You'll experience frustration, setbacks, and doubt. You won't always feel like working on your business. In fact, there will be days when you'll want to quit. But if you focus on the result, the vision of what your business can become, your feelings will be secondary. The desire to achieve will outweigh the discomfort. You'll find that by focusing on the results you want, your feelings start to align with the work. Here's something important to remember. Feelings are fleeting. They come and go. You wake up feeling energized some days and exhausted on others. Some days you're motivated, and other days you just want to hit the snooze button and go back to sleep. But the key to achieving anything great is to push through those feelings and keep moving toward the results you're after. When you start focusing on results instead of feelings, you shift your mindset. You stop being a victim of your emotions and become a creator of your destiny. You stop letting your mood determine your actions, and you start taking purposeful, focused action toward your goals. The world doesn't care if you feel like it. The world doesn't care if you're tired or discouraged. It only cares about the results you produce. And those results come from consistency, not motivation. They come from doing the work even when it's hard. Let me share something that really drives this point home. The world rewards results, not intentions. You can have all the best intentions in the world, but if you don't take consistent action, you'll never get the results you want. You can plan all you want, but unless you execute, those plans don't mean anything. The world doesn't hand out prizes for good ideas. It hands out rewards for action, for progress, for results. Now, I'm not saying that feelings don't matter at all. There are days when you need to take a break, when you need to rest and recharge. But don't let your feelings become the deciding factor in whether or not you take action. Instead, focus on the results you want and make them the driving force behind your actions. When you do that, your feelings will shift. You'll find more energy. You'll find more motivation. You'll find more confidence. And most importantly, you'll find that the results you desire start to show up. So here's the takeaway: stop waiting for the right feelings. Focus on the results you want and take action no matter how you feel. Your feelings will follow your actions, and your actions will create the results you've been dreaming about. You've heard it before: set goals. It's something people say all the time. But here's the real question: do you know how to set the right kind of goals? Because just setting goals isn't enough. If you're not setting specific, actionable goals, you're not setting yourself up for success. You're just setting yourself up for frustration. Let's be honest. How many times have you set a goal like, I want to be successful, or I want to get in shape, or I want to make more money? Those are great wishes, but they're not goals, they're vague desires. And let me tell you something about vague desires: they don't get results. Success isn't built on vague ideas or broad intentions. Success is built on clarity. It's built on specific, actionable goals that you can measure, track, and make progress toward. You need to be precise in your goal setting. You need to know exactly what you want and exactly how you're going to get there. That's the difference between a wish and a plan. Here's the deal: vague goals are wishful thinking. Specific goals are powerful. If you say, I want to get in shape, you have no clear direction. But if you say, I will lose 10 pounds in the next 3 months by exercising 3 times a week and eating a balanced diet, now you have a plan. Now you have clarity. Now you have something to aim for. You can measure your progress. You can take action. You can make adjustments along the way. And that's what sets you up for success. The first step in setting specific, actionable goals is to get crystal clear on what you want. Don't just say, I want to be rich. Get specific. I want to make $100,000 this year. Don't just say, I want to be healthier. Get specific. I will lose 15 pounds in the next 6 months and run a 5K in 4 months. Do you see the difference? It's not enough to have a goal that's general. You have to know exactly what the finish line looks like. You have to define it. Now, once you've got clarity on your goal, the next step is to make sure it's actionable. What's an actionable goal? It's one that you can break down into specific steps. It's a goal that you can work on every single day. So let's go back to our example of losing weight. Saying, I want to lose 10 pounds is a great start, but it's not enough. What does that really mean? How do you make it happen? You need to take that big goal and break it down into smaller, actionable steps. What actions are you going to take to make that goal happen? It could look like this: I will exercise for 30 minutes every day, or I will track my calories and stick to 1,800 calories a day. Or I will prepare healthy meals every Sunday for the week ahead. These are all specific actions that you can take to move closer to your goal. If your goal isn't actionable, it's just a dream. And don't forget, goals must be measurable. A goal without a way to measure progress is like driving a car with no dashboard. How do you know if you're moving forward? How do you know if you're on track? A measurable goal gives you a clear indicator of success. For example, instead of just saying, I want to be healthier, you might say, I will lose 5 pounds every month for the next 3 months. Now you can track it. You can see if you're making progress. You know whether you need to push harder or adjust your plan. If you can't measure your goal, how do you know you've achieved it? Actionability is the key to getting results. Here's what happens when you break your goals down into actionable steps. You begin to make steady progress every single day. Consistency is the secret sauce of success. When your goal is broken down into smaller, actionable steps, you know exactly what to do. You don't need to rely on motivation or inspiration because you've already planned your next move. You've already committed to doing something, and as you start ticking off those small tasks, momentum builds. That momentum becomes a powerful force that pushes you forward. Let's take a closer look at another example. If your goal is to write a book, don't just say, I want to write a book. Get specific. Say, I will write 1,000 words every day for the next 90 days now. That's actionable. Now, you can focus on writing 1,000 words every day, and after 90 days, you'll have a finished book. It's the daily, consistent actions that create the big results. If you break it down into actionable steps, your goal goes from being a dream to being a plan. And once you have a plan, you're unstoppable. You know exactly what to do every single day to move closer to your goal. It takes away the guesswork. It takes away the overwhelm. And it gives you a clear roadmap to success. Now, a key part of this process is adjusting as you go. Goals don't always go exactly as planned, and that's okay. The important thing is to keep moving forward, to keep adjusting, and to keep taking action. If you hit a roadblock, don't give up. Find a new way around it. The goal doesn't change, but the path to it may need some course correction. The ability to adjust your plan is just as important as the plan itself. Let me tell you something about success. It's not built in giant leaps. It's built in small steps. You don't achieve greatness by waiting for the perfect moment to make a huge breakthrough. Success comes from the little victories you achieve along the way. Those small wins are the fuel that keeps you moving forward, and more importantly, they build momentum. Now, let's get clear on what I mean by momentum. Momentum is the secret ingredient that makes everything easier. When you have momentum, things start to flow. You make progress without even thinking about it. You feel energized. You start knocking down obstacles, and the hard work doesn't seem so hard anymore. But here's the key: momentum isn't something that just happens by chance. It's something you create, and you create it with small wins. It's easy to look at someone who's successful and think they must have had some huge breakthrough moment. You might look at an entrepreneur or athlete, or anyone who's achieved big success and assume they reached their goals overnight. But that's not how it works. The truth is, success is a series of small wins stacked on top of each other. The person who is winning today, who's making it look easy, is there because they've built momentum through 1,000 small, consistent actions. Let's break it down. Imagine you're working on a big goal. Let's say it's writing a book. Now, writing a book is a big, daunting task. It can feel overwhelming. If you focus on the enormity of the goal, it's easy to get discouraged. But instead of thinking about writing the whole book, what if you focused on writing just one page today? That's a small win. You write 500 words. You've moved the needle forward. That small win builds momentum. And here's the amazing thing: once you start stacking small wins together, you get closer and closer to your big goal without even realizing it. The key to building momentum is to make progress every single day. Even if it's just a little progress, people often think they need to have big results right away, but that's not how you win in the long run. If you focus on getting small things done consistently, you will build momentum. Momentum makes everything easier because it gives you the energy to keep going, even when things get tough. It's the little wins that give you confidence. It's the small victories that create belief.